Oompa, Oompa, Oompa Dee. I've got a thing or two to say to you. Oompa, Oompa, Oompa Dee. I've got a thing or two to say to you. Like the Oompa Humpty Dumpty Doo. Hello, my name is Robert Pembroke. I thought I'd talk to you about a research title to be scheduled for a report at some predetermined point in the future. It's scheduled to be so. The title is Considerations in the Political Econometrics of Poisonous Gas Warfare in High-Density Population Cities of the World. Now, put simply, the topic of the paper is to be town planning design and policy responses in relation to poisonous gas attacks on vertical surfaces in high-density population areas of cities around the world. It's a type of workplace health and safety issue article. It's peer-reviewed. It's to be peer-reviewed anyway. Now, my association or linkage to this article to be reviewed as well, peer-reviewed in the future, relates to my days as a student at Griffith University at the Nathan campus in Brisbane, Australia, between the years 1985 to 1987. I'll just repeat that. Griffith University, the Nathan campus, between the years 1985 and 1987. Now, I'd like to talk to you about how I came about knowing about this article title. It relates to an event that occurred in relation to myself when I first walked through the doors of the Humanities Department at the Nathan campus. On my right hand side as I walked in, before I went into the administration office, I saw the placement of an air conditioning filter, a type of display of an exhibition artefact, in this case a dirty air conditioning filter, and it was in a protective framing. The artefact was displayed for both students and employees as a presentation about dirty air conditioning filters, yeah? And it was at the Nathan campus in Brisbane. I'll just repeat that. The Nathan campus in Brisbane in 1985, and it was displayed there because of a failure by administrators to adequately protect air conditioning systems from contamination at the university by regularly replacing air filters. It was quite the topic back in the 1980s. And it was the topic because of the prevalence of Legionnaire's disease, which was largely thought to project out of dirty air conditioners, yeah? It actually reminded me of a tarpa fabric exhibit I had seen at James Cook University, a tarpa artefact, yeah, in 1989. I think they're like a Samoan or Fijian. Oh, they're Fijian, aren't they? Yeah, Fijian tarpa fibre. It was quite broken down and decayed, and it did in fact remind me of the air conditioning filter. So it was like a memory jog for me, I presume. So I saw that at the Material Anthropology Department, the Museology Studies Department at James Cook University in, I believe it was 1989, when I studied there briefly, as I said, in the Material Anthropology and Museology Department. They displayed artefacts, that sort of stuff, yeah? Now, my other reason for recognising or recalling these facts relates to the financial promotion of terrorist activity by employees of Griffith University between the years 1985 to 1987, that led to the sabotage of B-52 strategic bomber aircraft in the United States. The name of the organisation, student group that conducted the terrorist activity, I believe was known at the time as the Ploughshare. The label Ploughshare has since diversified into both an anti-war Christian group in the United Kingdom and a corporation that invests in the research into devices for the United Kingdom Defence Research of the British Army, Navy and Air Force. Now again, my interest here related to my family's involvement in the Halifax aircraft deployment during World War II in the Ruhr Valley and Dresden. I would suggest to you that this has something to do with the material facts I offered to you just now in relation to the parameters of gas warfare applications and responses in built-up areas of cities. It's a consideration, I do believe, for town planners. It is really a workplace health and safety issue to be implemented in the nature of design of future buildings. Okay, so when we think about, say, design in gas warfare, we think about two dimensions. It's very simple, really. We have a horizontal plane on one dimension of the battlefield. It might involve, say, cropping fields, concourses, transportation hubs, viaducts, subways, roads, playing fields, highways, sporting venues, entertainment venues, you name it. It's all sorts of places that are on that horizontal plane when it comes to poisonous gas attacks. The other one is the vertical dimension and of the battlefield, and this comprises, say, high-rise towers in commercial business districts. The acronym here is CBD, and for example in Brisbane, high-rise residential towers or high-rise office towers, skyscrapers, yeah? Okay, so now I've described to you the type of target zone we're dealing with. We're kind of just on two dimensions here, aren't we, really, with the nature of the type of poisonous warfare I'm describing to you, just in a kind of rudimentary way. And so how do we get there? How do we get to this understanding of the dimensions of gas warfare? There's a series of historiographic pieces of data floating around the internet on the Uniform Resource Locators, the acronym URL of the World Wide Web, that's www. And one of those material facts of history is the sarin gas attack on the Tokyo subway, conducted by the Aum Shinrikyo sect in Japan. That particular organisation had a supply depot in Western Australia. The Aum Shinrikyo group organisationally managed the deployment of that sarin gas attack in Tokyo, and they had management links with that supply depot in Western Australia. The other example of it occurs with the Syrian gas attacks on buildings in Dumas and Aleppo. They used gas in buildings there to try and get rid of people. Now the other one you might see, fortunately, is a topic of research into designs destined to curb the displacement, the diffusion of gases, in buildings by engineering institutes, and one of those engineering groups is the Pragati Engineers. They come out of the research institute known as the, I think it's the Pragati College of Engineers. Yeah, engineers do those sorts of things. They look at ways to make the workplace and indeed your life safer. Yeah. They also do it the other way too. Engineers can manufacture devices for the deployment of poisonous gases, yeah, as I'll get to. Okay, so let me see, another point where you might notice subject matter relating to poisonous gases is, say, video gaming in the nature of poisonous gas attacks in imaginary battlefields, a bit like kids used to play with toy soldiers. Made in Taiwan. There we go. There's the link. Yeah. So you have also examples in the real world of battlefield scenarios in both World War One, with, for example, the failure to retrieve corpses from Fromelles because they were just contaminated quite heavily by the gases, and nobody was quite sure exactly what the half-life of that stuff was at the time. And you also have, say, in World War II, the deployment of the VX nerve gas that occurred not infrequently. Yeah. So now we're not really told these things, are we? And that's because we're kind of muddled. We're led into a kind of spaghetti.
I just had to stop for a minute to make a cup of coffee.
Search.
If we think about it, there's kind of a concealment that occurs through the uniform resource locators within, say, search engines manufactured by the various search engine companies around the world. They're not all that contiguous sometimes, and we end up with a rather somewhat similar to a muddle. Yeah, we end up with a spaghetti effect within the search reference in search engines such as Google and whatnot, and the meta words that don't always adequately relate to each other, and we're left to kind of join the dots together, fill the spaces in, and work it all out. Yeah, so one of them that you'll find that is kind of a bit misleading, misdirecting, is the claim in international law that the UN has a convention about prohibitions or bannings of the use of noxious gases in warfare. But it's really actually one of the first things that are used in open warfare. Yeah. Another one is that there's a failure to adequately link contiguously the nature of, say, proper ventilation in buildings, safety valves and whatnot, and workplace health and safety, because poisonous gas contamination, it can occur quite naturally as well, and having adequate ventilation in buildings is a very good initiative to work towards. It seems to have been lost, hasn't it, in some recent designs, such as, I believe someone pointed out to me, the problems with the Princess Alexandra Hospital in relation to noxious odours with patients who are quite unwell and quite sick. There's that as well. That was another memory jog. Of course, it takes a while to get there, but eventually you get to these organisations like the Pragati Engineers. If I haven't already mentioned it, I think I may have. Yeah, and they actually work with storage devices for gases, both noxious and otherwise. Their main focus in relation to tower buildings is chlorine gas, it's largely believed to be the one that would be deployed. It could be made to look like an accident, that sort of thing, yeah, because it's quite widely distributed in countries. And can actually make it very difficult to live or work in an office space in a building if they're deployed. That's why they develop these valving systems for that process. In saying that, when you have, say, a storage canister to store gas, you'll also have the ability to deploy it here. And when you next time you see the deployment of, say, a guided missile or rocket, for example, the Dongfang Sushi Yiga series rocket systems for the deployment of, say a poisonous gas, you'll notice that there's a string of rosary beads that sort of separate across the sky, and they're those storage canisters, and they sort of parachute down and then release. One minister once said, I do recall, he was a Queensland minister as well, he said, World War III, it doesn't go off with a bang, it goes off with a whimper. It's like a balloon deflating or something, yeah? And that's what it sounds like, you know, when there are sort of gases coming out and you don't really hear anything. Conversely, a lot of people, they prefer to hear the big bangs and things like that. And when it comes to that sort of thing, people don't really care for it, they just want to get it over with. Yeah, so you kind of get these jokes that come out of it too, if I recall, like, oh, you know, how many bananas are you? How bananas are you? How many are you? What's another one that came out recently? This one now. Oh, there's a really good one that comes up. Oh, that's right. Those little Sunnybanks up at Sunnybank the other day, they're not garden slugs that make them, they're kind of like lead marbles or something. Yeah, so actually, so I can't tell people what to do, it's not my place to say what people have to do. They have to do these things, they're instructed to do those things. It's not my place to say. But I can tell you that it's very real, the need to prepare cities to properly, adequately cope with emergencies. One only has to look at, say, the false flag of 9/11 at the World Trade Center. That indeed was designed to conceal the gas attack methodology on the vertical plane for office towers and whatnot, yeah? So it's kind of a rather humane way of getting people to accept that they have to understand that in life we all have a right to be here, and that if we don't act with honesty and integrity towards each other, then we can end up in trouble, can't we? We all have to be honest with each other. What is the saying? What do they say? They say, always offer a hand of friendship, but be prepared to carry a big stick, okay? Anyway, have a lovely day. I hope you enjoyed this account of history from my perspective. Hopefully you have a history you'd like to describe in social media somewhere. I received no financial reward for doing this. It's purely so thanks for that.